Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Tuesday evening, Tuesday night. Kind of late actually, especially for anybody not on Pacific time. Uh anyhow, yeah. Happy Tuesday slash Wednesday, and hope the week's treating you all right. It has been a real son of a bitch here for the last 3 weeks. Like I moved out of the high plains, and although I miss it from time to time, I get a little homesick. And then we get some wind out here, just like we would back on the high plains, and yeah, I don't miss anything about it. Don't miss anything about that shit. It's been just windy and fucking nasty, and ugh, I hate it. I hate it. Hate it. And yeah, I'm still just digging shit out of my eyes. We had baseball opening ceremonies on Saturday. Um if you'll remember from last year with my little showdown with Jer Dog. Commissioner Jerry, Little League Baseball commissioner. Um I might repost that episode at some point. Because it was I thought it was one of my finer rants. And by the way, Aaron's gay. He tore his butthole, and he had to have surgery. And his wife's real pissed about it because like they're like way over their allotment for the year on medical insurance, and a torn butthole is not cheap to repair, so I've been told. And so anyway, thoughts and prayers with Aaron, and I'm sure he'll get through it. And mostly thoughts and prayers with Katie, as she's figuring out how she's gonna have to pay for this broken butthole. But that's neither here nor there. Like we'll let it slide this time, and uh and we anyhow, it's been busy. It's gonna be busy for the next month or so while baseball's going on. Even though it probably shouldn't be started till about 2 weeks from now. About a full month behind where we start right now, because apparently our T-ballers and 8 to 10 year olds are they're just as good as the major leaguers. We're gonna start baseball in April, god damn it. Because hey, that's when the MLB starts up for real, and so we might as well get these little bitty fuckers acclimated, and weather be damned. Um, May is just too late to start baseball season for little bitty kids. Anyhow, April, most unpredictable month of the year as far as weather goes. You could have full on whiteout blizzard, or you could be 90 degrees, and those could be all in the same month, on kind of back to back days. Uh, like I know there's been days where it was 80 and then snowed the next day, and that's been Nevada, that's been that's been Colorado. Um, Montana's a little more honest. Montana's a little more of a son of a bitch, but their Montana weather's honest about it. Like it's gonna be cold early and often. But anyhow, we've known for a week or so. I'd say 4 to 5 days in advance, we knew that Saturday, when opening ceremonies were scheduled, that the wind was going to blow and it was going to be cold, and it's going to be an overall shitty day. We knew that several days ahead of time. But we forged ahead because these goddamn T-ballers, they are going to learn how to play baseball in April. Because 1 in a million of these little fuckers is actually going to play in April for money at some point. So we start out in April, and opening ceremonies start at 9 o'clock. And my little boy's in T-ball, and my little girl is in coach pitch, or we call it farm league out here. And so we got opening ceremonies at 9. That goes to like 10 o'clock. And then we have team pictures for one of the kids at 10:30. And then we have a game at noon and a game at 1. And then we have pictures at 1:30 or 2, I think. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, full day. And we get around, and then, this is one of my days off, so I was hoping to sleep in a little bit, but and I guess I did. Technically, I slept in a touch, but we got over there about 8:30. The wind's howling. It's cold. Everybody's wearing a big coat, and we meet up where we're supposed to meet up with all of our teams. My wife took my daughter my wife took Gus, and I took my daughter, and we went to where we're supposed to meet, and then we ended up meeting basically at the same place. And then we get the word that opening ceremonies has been canceled. And so we meet in Yerington, Nevada for this, the county seat of Lyon County. And that's where all the little league teams in the county meet up right there in Yerington for the opening ceremonies. I think maybe Fernley doesn't come over, but anyhow, basically everybody in the county is there for opening ceremonies, and they cancel it when everybody's there. And I'm not saying that we should hold an opening ceremony when the weather's real shitty. But if you didn't decide to cancel it before everybody drove all the way the fuck over there, you might as well get it done. Just get it done. So anyway, everything was canceled except for the team pictures and the individual pictures. Because they had hired out this photographer, and she was getting paid for that day. I don't know what all that cost, but anyhow, though, all the games were scheduled to be there in Yerington that day, and they all got canceled, just along with the opening ceremonies, but pictures still going on. Well, come to find out, we everything kind of rescheduled, but we had our team pictures at 1:30 and 2 o'clock. 1:30 and 2 o'clock. The teams that drove to get to the opening ceremonies were the last teams to take pictures. We spent a whole fucking day in town with the wind howling, and so you can't even take the kids to the park. And we just basically sat in the vehicle and wasted an entire fucking day waiting on team pictures. And we wanted to get it done because it's my boy's first year playing baseball. So you kind of want to commemorate that. And so we waited around. Who was taking pictures before us? Well, the home team. Yerington teams, not any of their fault, the teams themselves, but they all live in town where this is taking place, where they could go home and then come back at 2 o'clock to take pictures, whereas we drove 30 minutes to get there. You could have, after you canceled the games and the opening ceremonies, you could have just like, hey, whoever's from out of town, you're up first, so we can get you back on your way because we don't have anything else planned for the rest of the day. But no, the home team, the people that can go home and come right back with no problem, they got their pictures done early, and we waited till 2 o'clock take pictures, and and this one of my big gripes outside of the sunflower seeds is like, why the fuck do we start baseball so early when we don't get out of school till like the second week of June out here, and these little league baseball seasons only last about a month. So a month and a half, we start like 2 weeks early for practice, and then in a month worth of games. So a month and a half, we could start first part of May when the weather is going to be a little more predictable. And even if the weather is kind of shitty, it's going to be at least be warmer in May than it is in April. And we're going to have a little more, like I said, a little more consistent weather, meaning that we can, at the very least, plan around weather a little bit more. But more than likely, we're going to be able to practice quite a little bit more. We're going to be able to have the games and not cancel them or postpone them. And I don't see how that would harm anybody, because the kids are still in school, and like the rodeo season's not really getting geared up until towards the end of May, right around Memorial Day is kind of the kickoff of the summer rodeo season. So right as rodeo's kind of getting kicked off is when baseball would be ending. It seems to line up pretty well. Like that's kind of how we did it where I grew up at. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. I mean, apparently we're just going to start in April. But knowing that we're starting in April, let's plan a little better. And if we know for several days in advance that the weather's going to be shitty, maybe just go ahead and postpone opening ceremonies until the next week or whatever, and try again. But if you don't postpone and you don't cancel beforehand, and everybody in the goddamn county shows up for opening ceremonies, and the weather's shitty, rather than calling it off, how about you say, hey, let's do this real quick? And you don't even have to, like, because it's kind of one of those deals where everybody, like, lines up on the field. Well, how about instead of doing that, like, everybody line up real quick, and then as they call your team name, raise your hats, and 5 minutes in and out, and then let's go take pictures. And also, everybody that had to drive here from out of town, why don't you go first so you can get home? Little bit of fucking common courtesy goes a long ways. And anyhow, that also a little bit of the blame goes on me, because I did not show up to the meeting that where they voted on shit back in February. So anyhow, this is why being involved at the local level of politics, and even though this is Little League, it is very much political. So anyhow, yeah, if you're going to get involved, make sure you commit to that. And if you don't, then, well, I guess you can bitch all you want, because I just did. And but also be aware, kind of makes you look like a little bit of a hypocrite, which it did. So anyhow, I still think I'm right, but also, yeah, I could have said something in February when it might have mattered. Right now, it doesn't matter. Season's already in motion, and yeah. Well, fuck me, right? Huh? Anyhow, um, I got a few things. This wind has been awful. Um, this and climate change is like they're trying to make that. It's kind of a weird time with like the official narrative lately. You know, COVID dominated the news cycle for 2 years, and I guess we'll I'll come back to the climate change, but in the meantime, the mask mandates have been struck down by a federal judge. First time ever. There's a Trump-appointed judge in Florida, and basically they was a that's how rather than saying Judge so and so has struck no authority to regulate and or mandate. So um, the Biden administration has or the DOJ Biden DOJ because that's how this also how it works with politics. It's just not just the Department of Justice, and well, I don't know if we ever should like, expect it to be like truly impartial, but that's what it's supposed to be. But it never is because as soon as somebody else takes office, uh, it flip flops back and forth. And so the Biden DOJ said they will appeal this decision pending recommendation from the CDC. So if the CDC says that they still deem the mask, I think it was over. Like I'm glad it's a good win because they were just like bumping this deadline 2 weeks at a time, and like I'm actually kind of surprised that they decided to go ahead and appeal it. But I guess it's pending recommendation from the CDC. But it's kind of the way that all that has worked. I would expect the CDC to dig their heels in maybe one more time, and that means then it has to go to like a full or at least like a partial panel, if not a full panel, and then possibly get bumped up to the Supreme Court. I'm not for sure exactly how that process works, but um, anyhow, should the CDC decide to dig their heels in, then yeah, it'll be a deal for a little bit longer. Which I'm not surprised that they wanted to hold power or keep power, but I'm a little bit surprised that they're sticking with it now because their polling numbers are just in the tank. But anyhow, the mask mandates have been lifted. And then immediately the four major airlines announced that they are lifting their mask mandates as well. There's videos on Twitter and other social media outlets where like as soon as it was announced, like pilots and the flight attendants and the passengers all like ripping their mask off and cheering and yelling in the airplane. So um, that kind of feels like it's like the last blow for all this COVID nonsense. We'll see. Like I said, like the White House is like at least kind of putting on a brave face about it. The Jen Psaki, uh, she said the decision was disappointing, and now that the DOJ is waiting to hear back from the CDC, and this is basically like who or like if you're gonna be the bad guy, I got your back. But like we're it's like your move, homie. Like what we'll follow your lead. And so I don't know. We'll see. I won't be surprised either way. Honestly, it's and I mean it's a coin flip. Uh, it's gonna look bad for him either way. But hopefully there's enough reason within the party still that they'll realize like, hey, this will make you look like if you don't fight it, it'll make you look bad with like your hardcore base that is still terrified of COVID because you've completely brainwashed them. But it's going to give you at least somewhat of a tip of the cap as you're going into the primaries, and maybe there's just enough rational voices left within the Democratic Party to like tell them, hey, just let this goddamn thing go. Like, let's move on. We got enough shit to worry about. But that being said, look at how the last couple of years have played out, and yeah, I'm not confident either way. So, um, yeah, I guess just expect the Democratic Party to try and drive away even more rational minded people. And yeah. So what that means going forward, I don't know. Like if they take up the case, if the mandate goes back into effect, or what the fuck. I don't know. I'm not sure how that works, but I guess just don't be surprised that it's not over. But anyhow, speaking going back to the baseball deal, it's been really fucking windy for 3 weeks, and I hate it. And and in the meantime, we're getting no real moisture out of it. Like they've had some up top, um, but it's not enough to really do anything, and it's kind of late at this point, anyways. And yeah, this drought is talking to Boots. By the way, if you'd like to hear from Boots, you got to sign up on Patreon. But um, it's been really dry down there. North Dakota just got a blizzard, but before that, it was drier than hell up there too, and it's just dry everywhere. And and it just it looks so much like you know the the 20s and 30s repeating itself. I mean, just even from a climate standpoint, and I I'm very very torn on this climate change deal. Like I'm a firm believer that the climate changes constantly, and well, I think we probably do have some effect on the changing of the climate. I think we probably play, if at least a marginal role, if not a pretty significant role. However, we have advanced to the point as a human species, where we kind of rely on having power available whenever we need it, electric power, and that requires a lot of energy to expends a lot of energy to produce a lot of. I mean, a worldwide famine and like untold suffering. I don't think we could begin to imagine how bad if we were to just shut off fossil fuels tomorrow. We'd have maybe a week or two where people could kind of halfway function somewhat uh normal as we're accustomed to. But then I mean it's the straight up Hunger Games. It's and so just like, and that's why even in these proposals from like the most hardcore environmental nut jobs has a, you know, at least a 10-year timeline to roll this out, because like, yeah, to shut off the fossil fuels from, tomorrow is would be catastrophic. But it wouldn't be as catastrophic. It'd be catastrophic to the United States, um, because China and India and Russia are not going to shut off their fossil fuel consumption. But I guess just to say there was like a worldwide EMP where it just takes out every single power grid on Earth. Um, say from like a Sasquatch, science squatch attack. Um, but outside of that, um, the U.S. can do whatever the fuck it's going to do, but these other major, huge countries are going to do what's best for them. We're seeing that with Russia, Ukraine. Like, Russia's going to take care of business how Russia wants to, and Ukraine's either got to hold them out and put up enough fight for them to withdraw, or they're going to have to, at least part of their country is going to have to become Russia. And I don't, as bad as the Russia Ukraine deal is, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about that tonight, but as bad as it is, like, that's a fight they're going to have to fight on their own, because getting involved or us tangling with Russia could lead to just no human life on Earth, and or at least no human civilization left on Earth. And it's yeah, like, that's not an option to put on the table. So anyhow, to think that like we can control the climate when we can't even control what Russia does with Ukraine without risking total annihilation, like, I there's just the hubris behind that. Uh, this whole green energy movement, and I firmly believe we should do what we can to make sure that the Earth is livable for like my kids and their kids, and on down the line. To think that we can change what the climate is doing, I think that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Um, so anyhow, I'm kind of stuck between those two deals, and the proposals that we're seeing coming out from all over the world as far as tackling climate change leads to a lot of centralized government power, and I'm 100% against that. 100%. Um, anyhow, we'll jump ahead. Um, we'll finish up on the Ukraine, Russia stuff, but apparently, and if you listen to the media, these guys are just like, they are trying their goddamnedest to get us to put troops over in Ukraine. Um, but the Russians have basically pulled back from Kiev and Lviv, or Kiev and Lviv. Um, and they're focusing way more on the Donbass region, which is in the south and the east of Ukraine. And that's been, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the hell Putin's trying to do with Ukraine. I don't know um, if these attacks on Kiev and Lviv are just diversionary deals where they're trying to keep as many troops in that area as they can to make as much grab as much ground in the Donbass region as they can, which is kind of what they did in that first wave, and this seems to be like a second wave. And so like they shot a couple missiles at Lviv the other day, but it seems like the bulk of their troops are concentrating down on the south, and where they've just about taken Mariupol. Um, it's gonna, if they, once that finally falls and they have like uncontested control of that seaport there, then they can get supplies in and out a lot easier, and then that's gonna be able for them to take that Donbass region a lot quicker and supply or secure the water supply to Crimea, which is a big concern. Crimea is also disputed, but it's basically part of Russia now, back as part of Russia again. Um, anyhow, uh, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen there. Um, Terrible all the way around, and the media is doing their best to, like, your corporate legacy big name media outlets are trying their best to get us involved militarily, even more so than we have. Like, we're like, I saw that Biden's gonna announce another uh military aid package to Ukraine, which we just did, like, seems like 2 days ago. We sent like another almost $1 billion over there, and now like he's getting ready to announce another one. Like, if inflation wasn't high enough, god damn, dude, like, how many guns do they need? And if we're sending all this shit over there, why aren't they doing better? Like, they're not that Russia's doing well, but they're still only sending like 15% of their military. Like, if they really wanted to take Ukraine, they're gonna take Ukraine. Uh, and so like I don't understand how, like, they're just the way, like, they're not sending in a ton of reinforcements from Russia. That seems to mean to me that they're really only trying for this Donbass region. Um, I don't know. It's yeah. Joe Biden though. I gotta no. Anyhow, Russia Ukraine still going on, and the media is gonna try their best to get us in the war. And Joe Biden, to his credit, even though he's risking full scale war by sending weapons to Ukraine, like, they're gonna start bombing our shit as we're shipping it in from Poland or wherever. And yeah, it's just this is that shit gets scary. And then there's like in this media, they're talking about how, like, these tactical nuclear strikes are not going to be as bad as we think they are. Like, small scale nuclear war might not be bad after all. So let's go ahead and get in a war with Russia, I guess. Uh fucking crazy. So anyhow, see how that goes. But inflation's gonna keep going up, and the longer this shit goes on in Ukraine, the more it hurts us. Like, these sanctions that they put on Russia haven't really worked, and the ruble is basically at the same level it was pre-invasion. It tanked pretty hard there for a minute, and now it's back up. Looming. Speaking of Uncle Joe, um, this was a good one. Um, Uncle Joe is getting escorted away from the crowd by an Easter bunny, and I don't think my audio is working there, but uh, as he's talking to the crowd there, and they got him on a different video on mic where he's talking about Afghanistan and Pakistan, and then he goes over to that guy and goes, "What the hell am I supposed to do now?" And yeah, it's just gives you a lot of hope. Um, they're just, my word. At this point, there are so many jokes to be made about Joe Biden. I mean, and it is just, it is low hanging fruit. And but also at this point, that guy, I mean, just look at that guy. He doesn't know. There was another video. I'll see if I can pull it up here real quick. Um, there was another video of him where he's just, he walks off stage and goes to shake somebody's hand, and there's nobody there. And like, at this point, can we just call it elder abuse? Because that seems to be what's going on. And and anyhow, my computer is slow. That's why you guys should sign up at patreon.com/burning daylight, where I have my conversations with Boots. Yeah, any and all new subscriptions, that money goes into to helping me improve this show. So um anyhow, I'll work on getting that video, but at this point, like, yeah, it's kind of elder abuse. Like, I just feel kind of bad for the guy. And don't get me wrong, this guy is a giant piece of shit. His family is corrupt as they come. Um, we haven't even talked much about the Hunter Biden laptop deal. Because honestly, it's old news. Like, that, we knew that shit was real back in October of 2020. And they're just now in your major media outlets acknowledging that this was a thing. And it's just like, goddamn, man. For this guy's faults, I feel just kind of bad for him. And look at that. He just doesn't know what the fuck's going on anymore. Uh, at all. I mean, he's just wandering around lost. And like, his drugs must be on like a very strict timer. But he's, I feel bad for the guy. He's just rep. Look at this guy. Yeah. Um, yeah, and that guy's not gonna do anything uh to, like, he's not gonna do anything to make Putin intimidated. Uh, and he's but also I think he's still like uh kind of bullheaded enough that he's not going to like, he's not gonna risk troops on the ground in Ukraine. So I don't know. Like, it's oh, it's a lose-lose situation. What do I have next? So we covered Joe Biden, we covered the mask mandates. Okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene, my one of my favorite members of Congress. She is a Republican, diehard Donald Trump supporter from Georgia. Okay. She has a lawsuit pending against her by an advocacy group that's based out of Texas. But basically, what they are trying to do is get a bunch of these diehard Trump people disqualified from running from office or running for office again. Basically, using the legal system to undercut the will of the people of these districts. So they're citing. Let's read this. So federal judge says Georgia voters can challenge Marjorie Taylor Greene's reelection run. Still not sold on her not being a science squatch. It's still a possibility. You never know on these pictures, especially with a character like her, where your corporate media truly hates her. So I don't know if they're in on the plot with the science squatch, so they trimmed down the canines, or if they did that on purpose to make her her look weaker, or if maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene is an actual human. We don't know for sure. None of those theories have been confirmed. So as far as we know, all bets are in play right now. So Atlanta, a federal judge on Monday ruled that a group of Georgia voters can proceed with legal efforts seeking to disqualify U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from running for re-election to Congress, citing her role in the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol. I love that they're still citing the deadly attack. Only person who died on that day at the Capitol was shot in the neck by Capitol Police. Should she have been shot? I don't know. I have not really delved into that side of things yet, but we all know that there were no weapons found. That has been brought before the public several different times. No weapons found on on that day during the storming of the Capitol. The people who plotted to to overthrow the government, start an insurrection, left all their weapons at home that day. All of their weapons, no firearms found, and the only person who died on that day was one of the protesters, and she was shot in the neck by a cop, Capitol Hill Police. Yet they still call this a deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol. And so I guess, one person died, but it was a member of the attacking party, as they have cited it here. The challenge filed last month, the Georgia Secretary of State's office alleges that Greene, a Republican, helped facilitate the January 6, 2021 riot that disrupted Congress from certifying Joe Biden's presidential election victory. That violates a rarely cited provision of the 14th Amendment and makes her ineligible to run for re-election, according to the challenge. The amendment says that no one can serve in Congress who have previously taken the oath as a member of Congress to support the Constitution of the United States shall have emerged or have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same. Ratified shortly after the Civil War, it was meant in part to keep representatives who had fought for the Confederacy from returning to Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene is being treated as a member of the Confederate States of America, which hasn't existed since 1865. This is the fact that they let it go forward is kind of spooky. It should get shot down. 100% should get shot down. They're Marjorie Taylor Greene is, I guess she's going to court on Friday and she has to testify under oath. But she has said publicly how she was evacuated with the rest of the members of Congress on January 6th. And she has stated publicly or alleged that she has had no part in that. She they're trying to equate this big protest that was planned, permitted, and known about well in advance, uh, and it is also protected under the Constitution, the First Amendment, the right to peaceably assemble, which the the rally that Trump held was peaceful. Should he have called people off? Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know how all that works. I don't think he did anything to be held criminally liable, and he was acquitted by the Senate, which is not going to be accepted by your hardcore left wing people because it was 100% along partisan lines, and he even had a couple of his own party that voted to remove him from office. So that type of trial, even though legally he's acquitted, um, that's not going to hold much weight for your diehard like Trump resistance people. And there is a little bit of gray area about whether he did incite people to violence. I don't think he did, but there's at least that question there, and especially since there wasn't a single member or a Democratic member that voted to acquit. So the party line vote, and even had a couple people from his party. So whether you agree with it or not, there very much is, in as far as public opinion goes, there is a little bit of doubt there, and even some moderate people, and even some people on the Republican side said, he might have had a hand in that. So if that comes back up, they can say that he led an insurrection, which would invoke this article of the 14th Amendment, and it would disqualify Marjorie Taylor Greene and Madison Cawthorn. I think Lauren Boebert, my other girlfriend from Congresswoman from Colorado, and a couple of representatives from Arizona, like Paul Gosar and something Biggs. But let's go to Madison Cawthorn. I didn't cover this. I meant to cover this several weeks ago, but if you guys don't know him, he is the congressman from somewhere in North Carolina. He's not the guy that's running against Tony Cowden, who I had on a couple weeks ago. But he's the guy in the wheelchair, and he's very much along the same lines of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think he's a science squatch. He's I don't know if we've not seen any evidence that of Sasquatch is paralyzed from the waist down, and if the science squatch has cloaking technology, there's no way they can't repair broken limbs and paralysis. So I'm 99.9% sure that Madison Cawthorn is not a science squatch, but he repeats a lot of the same talking points as Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. And like I said, they're kind of they're like the new wing of the Republican Party. And they're just like younger Trumps. They say a bunch of stupid shit. But they do a good job of rallying their base behind them, and for the most part, I agree with them more than anybody on the Democratic side, and most of your like traditional Republican candidates. So even though I don't care for them at all, they're probably outside of Thomas Massey, who I agree with most within Congress. So Madison Cawthorn obviously has come under a lot of fire from your corporate media. And so here we go. Secretly recorded call adds to controversy swirling around Cawthorn. Former district staff member for Representative Madison Cawthorn, Republican from North Carolina, is accusing him of improperly firing her after denying her family and medical leave. Allegations the lawmaker and his office have vehemently denied. At one point during the call, Lisa Wiggins, who was a caseworker for the 26-year-old first-term representative in his district office for over a year, described that office as having more liquor bottles than they do water bottles. Cawthorn's office has insinuated that the allegations made in a secretly recorded and released conversation with the head of an anti-Cawthorn PAC were politically motivated and hinted at political counteraction by saying that they constitute defamation of character. Wiggins unloaded about Cawthorn in a call with David Wheeler, the president of the anti-Cawthorn American Muckrakers PAC, more commonly known as Fire Madison Cawthorn, accusing him of denying me my FMLA leave when her uncle died and her husband suffered a heart attack the same week. This is kind of a long article, but I think it's interesting enough to read the whole thing. So Wiggins, who was not ready to share her accusations or confirm that a workplace complaint had been filed against Cawthorn when reached by the Hill on Monday. Okay. Wiggins, who was not ready to share her personal story and was shell-shocked at the statements she made in confidence being made public, declined to elaborate on the accusations or confirm that a workplace complaint had been filed against Cawthorn when reached by the Hill on Monday. Basically, this chick was pissed that something that she said in confidence was leaked to the press, and she did not corroborate any of the accusations or the fact that she had filed a workplace. Did confirm that she is working for a GOP challenger to Cawthorn, retired Army Colonel Rod Honeycutt. Started supporting Honeycutt's campaign after Cawthorn had said he would run in a new adjacent district before switching back to the district encompassing most of his current Western Appalachian territory. It's not as though I was just working for him against Cawthorn. Cawthorn was no longer going to be working in the district. Also, he gave me the blessing to do so when I left the district, Wiggins told the Hill. Wheeler said the call took place last week on April 12th. He released the audio from the conversation on the PAC's website on Monday, and a report about it from a local outlet, Smoky Mountain News, soon followed. So, after the census in 2020, this is where all the gerrymandering happens, and North Carolina is one of the big states that got gerrymandered all to hell. And it just so happens that Cawthorn decided to run in a different district, and he told this chick that since she was staying with that district, that she could work for whoever she wanted to. And then he changed his mind, or probably based on judges' rulings, decided to switch back to that district. And now she's already working for this who's now a challenger, who wasn't planning to challenge this guy. So you got an oopsie primary challenge here. And this chick is caught in the middle of it, and some piece of shit from a political action committee, a super PAC, recorded a call. North Carolina is like a one-party recording call. So anybody who's been on the podcast, especially like when we do it on Zoom, when we do video, when I hit record, it lets you know, because a lot of states, they have to, for it to be used legally and not face any repercussions, both parties have to know that you're being recorded, and that's also kind of a standard practice. Anyhow, he didn't tell her that she was being recorded, and sounds like maybe she was just ranting about this guy. who has gotten a lot of trouble from the Republican Party. He got he got a bunch of shit from Mitch McConnell because he was saying he was talking about how he got invited to a bunch of parties where orgies were going on and drugs were everywhere. And honestly, I think he should have not denied it and actually told some details about these parties because I want to see how DC gets down. But he probably couldn't do that because there was a bunch of underage kids there. Because that seems to be how DC rolls anymore. Anyhow, Madison Cawthorn's another one of these guys that is up for a lawsuit about whether he can run again. And like I said, this type of deal is the shit that sets off violence. When you have people that elected, no matter what your view on Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene or Madison Cawthorn or even for the other side, Pelosi or AOC or Ilhan Omar, no matter what you think of them, if you're not in their district, you don't have much of a say about whether they have a right to be there or not. That's for the constituents of that district to decide. And if they're able to just decide through the legal system that even though the people of this district want these people to represent them through some technicality in the law over an event that is questionable at best as to whether or not it was an insurrection, um, and the legal system just says no, you can't elect that person even though you want to. That sets a really, really bad precedent in motion, and and especially with it looks like the Republicans are going to win big in this primary and probably win big again in 2024 because I don't see the Democrats slowing down on their bullshit. Yeah, that like when you take away the people's voice like that, that's going to that can only end in violence. And I'm not advocating for it at all. I'm just saying that that is where that's headed. So hopefully cooler heads prevail within the courts, and I think overall the courts have done a pretty good job within the last couple of years. But we'll see. In other news, Amazon and Starbucks, two of your, at least publicly, your most like progressive left wing type of companies. Both of their founders are like extremely left wing. They have been fighting a kind of an uphill battle. It seems like they've been like playing a game of whack-a-mole trying to shut down union attempts and have failed for the most part. And this is something I think we should pay a little bit more attention, as most of my audience being on the libertarian conservative side of things. Kind of knee-jerk gut reaction is anti-union and anti-big labor. And I'm very much on the same way, but I'm sympathetic to like the union guy. I don't like the unions as an organization very much the same way. Like I support like the original sentiments of the Black Lives Matter movement, like your average black guy that's just tired of getting fucked with by the cops. I view that person the same way as your average like union like mill worker or factory worker is just like trying to put their head down and not get fucked over by the company that employs them, like trying to get everything that they got coming to them. And so I don't hold any grudge against them, but like much like Black Lives Matter, the organization got corrupt. could do a whole segment about how much money has been misallocated and it can't be found or accounted for um, from the organization, and their leaders are buying $1 million+ houses. Um, that's kind of how I mean just that's how the union deal has worked too. Like while I sympathize with your average union guy, uh, the leadership of that union is just corrupt as fuck and robbing its members blind for the most part. And so like I'm very much like skeptical of labor movements, but this Amazon deal and so the plant or the warehouse, or I think it's a distribution center. It's in Staten Island, New York, and they voted overwhelmingly to unionize. And Amazon has resorted to. I don't have any of these articles picked or pulled up, but I listened to several different podcasts on this, and I've read a bunch of different stories, and Amazon's union busting tactics are just pretty goddamn funny, to tell you the truth. They're even using like Donald Trump's playbook of this election was stolen, and I don't know if they're talking about voting machine. I don't know how all those deals work, but the fact that this thing sprung up fairly grassroots oriented, it seems like the guy that's leading this union is not affiliated with any of the other major trade unions that are associated with warehouse workers and whatnot. I don't know which union that would be, but like this is one just created specifically for Amazon, and like it seems like Amazon is really like pulling out everything, and Starbucks the same way. It all started in New York, and it probably at the end of the day, this is gonna lead to like oh, it's gonna lead to an increase in all of your Amazon prices, and also probably going to lead to higher price coffee and all of that good stuff. But at the same time, I fully support these these union attempts, at least to have some sort of say against especially a massive corporation like that, where and in particular, I don't know if I believe all these stories coming out of like the Amazon warehouse about how bad working conditions are. But the fact that they basically do track every one of your movements during the day is creepy as fuck. And I get that you're on their time, but also like that's don't fucking track me like that. That's and it's not like we had the GPS deals on feed trucks at Cactus where you could see where your drivers are, and so you could it's meant to like see where they're at on in their route, so you can get back to the office or plan your route accordingly. But there's also times where guys would just go sit at the edge of the yard and kind of take a nap or something. And you could see that if they've been sitting in the same spot for 20 minutes. And I will admit it's a little bit creepy, and I tried not to use that too much. I try to use that GPS as what it was meant for, which is just to maximize your efficiency, and so you could see where they're at and how you could move that day along a little bit faster. But Amazon is like calculating how long it takes you to you know to load each box, and then like puts that on an average for the entire company, and then you've got standards to meet, and then they time your bathroom breaks and everything, and it's it's some real 1984 type shit. And and so I don't. While I don't trust most labor movements, just because they're by nature they're very left wing socialistic in nature, and I'm not for that, but also these giant corporations and working for a couple of them, they tend to be very authoritarian in how they run things, and there's got to be some sort of balance there, and so I kind of support this whole movement to kind of throw a big fuck you to these elite types. So we'll see how that plays out with with Amazon and Starbucks. Most likely, it's just gonna make everything more expensive for us. But we'll take a look and see how it goes further down the line. Next up, we got DeSantis and Disney going head to head, and this is a weird one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit torn on it too because so basically Disney faced a huge backlash from its employees because they didn't speak out enough against this what they're calling the "Don't Say Gay" bill. We all know it's not what it was. I will say though, it's kind of ticky tacky, and but this is how conservatives work. They kind of fall asleep at the wheel, and the next thing you know, something really outrageous is happening. And in response, they do something probably even, at the least, equally outrageous to try to stop it from going any further. It's much like the bathroom bill in North Carolina, which I still believe if they would have just said, uh, well, basically nothing, and just kind of let it all play out, and not fought, uh, because they lost that thing. I mean, I mean they lost a whole bunch of, well, it was like the NCAA tournament and something else that moved out of North Carolina over that transgender bathroom bill. So they made this law that they could not enforce, and it just inflamed the left wing. And at the end of the day, it I think it got shot down in courts, and nothing was changed except it got a Democrat governor elected, and but on the conservative side, it didn't do anything except hurt them. And I think if they would have just said nothing, done nothing, the the left wing and the corporate media, they would have made a huge deal about it, about something early on, and then it would just fizzled out because they wouldn't have had anything to continue to be outraged by. And and then that would have left you open to later on, if there was any sort of incidents of sexual assault or whatever in a woman's bathroom by a transgender person, you could point to that and say, "See, this is why we thought it was a terrible idea." And that, but that's not how they work. They go hard the other way, and this is kind of, I view this deal with DeSantis, and it's all over the transgender stuff in classrooms, and critical race theory and Common Core, and like he banned something like 54 books, and I don't know what those books were, and I don't know exactly why they were banned, and I my kids are homeschooled, so honestly, I don't care to even go look into it. I don't care that much. I think if you're that upset by the public school still, and you haven't at least looked into teaching your own kids, then that's your own damn fault. We all know what the public school system is at this point, and anything new that we're going to learn about is just going to make you even more pissed off. And I don't concern myself with it anymore because I teach my kids, and my wife teaches my kids, and yeah, I know what they're learning. I know what we're teaching them, so that's that. And but in response to Disney, like making a stronger statement against this and whatnot. Now it turns out that back in like 1968, Florida granted Disney basically autonomy, so they can raise their own taxes in at Disney World, and they can keep their own like private police force, and they're basically like kind of a libertarian dream. Like that's what we want, where the government just lets us the fuck alone. We can do what we want, and but at the same time, the only reason that Disney was able to do that because they bring a ton of tourism dollars into Florida. Like, I bet you your average gator farm or what the fuck ever, uh, you know, your average Florida man, t-shirt, Taco Bell, and meth distribution center. I bet you they don't have autonomy power like Disney World does. And so DeSantis is threatening to revoke that, which I'm kind of in favor of, just because Disney got there through cronyism. But at the same time, I think it's kind of awesome that they govern themselves for the most part. Even though I don't care much for Disney at the moment. Um, so I'm kind of at a quandary where I don't I don't know exactly which way to feel about that. And then as far as the banning of books, I guess it's just from curriculum. So it's not like they're banning them from the library. If you want to put them in the library, I think that's fine. I don't know exactly um, how that works, but I know it sounds a lot like censorship from the right wing side. And once again, I don't think that you should be teaching sexuality to kindergarten through third grade kids at all. I don't think they're ready for that. But I also don't have to fucking worry about it because my kids are not in public school. So, also a little torn about that, and I'm almost kind of on the side of the crazy people because censorship is bad because it only depends on who's in power. Uh, Once you set that precedent of censoring a certain set of topics, well, just wait till the other side gets into power and they will decide what they want to censor. We've seen this with social media. We've all, especially on the right wing side, have bitched about it on social media, or we tried to. Even if you're allowed to bitch about it on social media, you're not on the conservative or libertarian side, or just go anti the establishment narrative. You can rant all you want, but nobody sees it. 21,000 followers on Facebook, and if I break 100 reactions on something, that's a good day. That's a good day. And yeah, it used to be in the thousands, but hey, seems like we don't learn. It's all tribal, and I think DeSantis is his gut instincts are right. It's a little bit authoritarian, and so I pulled up this article, and then so our favorite gay governor, Jared Smoke My Polis, um, from my home state of Colorado, Colorado Governor rips DeSantis for socialist attacks on the private sector, and we're ready for Mountain Disneyland. Um, I think this guy's an idiot. But compared to the rest of the Western states, he's, well, or at least like the swing or liberal Western states, he's probably the best of them. Like, he's better than the Nevada governor. A lot better than California, Oregon, and Washington. I can't remember who the governor of Arizona is, but anyway, Colorado Governor Jared Polis led into Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Tuesday over what Polis called Florida's authoritarian socialist attacks on the free market, which I mean, that's pretty good. I will say, because he's kind of a socialist himself. At least when it comes to like domestic policy. On the economic side, he's very much a crony capitalist. So he's libertarian in the sense as long as it benefits him. But if it comes down to shutting down his competition, he's probably in favor of some regulation. DeSantis has been leading a culture war against some of America's most iconic corporations like Disney and Twitter. Over what he sees as their undue influence over society, and influence DeSantis would like to curtail using the powers of his office. Tuesday, the Florida Republican gave a speech in which he announced that his state, which is invested in Twitter via a pension fund, would look into holding accountable the board of directors of Twitter for rebuffing billionaire Elon Musk's takeover bid. We're going to be looking at ways the state of Florida potentially can be holding these Twitter board of directors accountable for breaching their fiduciary duty, charged DeSantis in a clip that was shared on social media. We'll listen to that here later. Polis, who has positioned himself as a centrist, commented on the clip, writing, Florida's authoritarian socialist attacks on the private sector are driving businesses away. Colorado, we don't meddle in the affairs of companies like Disney or Twitter. At Disney, we're ready for Mountain Disneyland, and at Twitter, we're ready for entering politics. Polis was a successful businessman and amassing a large fortune during the early days of the internet, and as a member of Congress, was the only Democrat to join the House's Libertarian Liberty Caucus. On Tuesday, DeSantis also moved to end Disney's special status for its Florida theme parks. DeSantis announced a change to the state legislature's agenda to include a review of independent special districts that were established prior to November 5th, 1968. The move is a significant escalation in DeSantis' fight over Disney, which began with the entertainment company coming out against a bill that gay rights activists announced as discriminatory. Florida State Rep Andrew Learned. I'm going to say learned. Tweeted the news on Tuesday, writing, breaking, Governor DeSantis is seeking to turn today's special legislature's session into a full-scale attack on Walt Disney World and Mickey Mouse. This isn't a joke. This is 2022 and the modern Republican Party. Polis, who is the first openly gay man elected to statewide office in the U.S., continued to troll DeSantis, saying, we will grant Mickey and Minnie full asylum in Colorado. So once again, this is a deal that I'm kind of torn on. I kind of appreciate Jared Polis's trolling. It's actually kind of funny. So hats off. The Democrats haven't been funny for a while. And yeah, it's I like I said, I like where DeSantis has his gut instincts, but I don't like him just wielding power like that. That's how authoritarians start. The fact that the state of Florida is invested heavily in Twitter through their pension fund is a concern as well. That's the mixing of private enterprise and government. But on the flip side, you have like Vanguard, who owns a ton of pharmaceutical company stock. BlackRock, which owns fucking everything. And you also have the Saudi royal family, which also owns everything. And the fact that a foreign government or owns a huge part of this company, which has become essentially the town square for political discussion is also a concern. And the fact that we have all these these giant players that whether they're representatives of the state or heavily tied in with the state apparatus is really concerning. And I'm really kind of interested to see how this Elon deal. I really like Elon for the most part. I don't fully trust the guy, because if you look at Tesla, and it's basically almost fully subsidized by the taxpayer. But I also have Starlink Internet, which is a private company, and for the first time in my life, outside of living in a college town where there was good internet, like I have fast internet for the first time in my life, and that's due to Elon Musk. And if he's able to complete this hostile takeover of Twitter and turn it back into what it was before shit got real political and censored, I'm all in favor for that. And but at the same time, he's all of this there's so much entwinement of government and giant corporations that it's just kind of gross, and I don't like any of it. And I'm just kind of hesitant to see where it all turns out. But that all being said, it's been a crazy couple weeks, and when Aaron's butthole heals, we'll go into this a little more in depth. I know I've kind of went quite a ways already, but there was a documentary that several people sent me to watch, and I did. It's called Watch the Water, and I'm gonna save that for the Patreon, because I know that documentary has been pulled from YouTube, and I'm gonna get pulled from YouTube. I'd rather do it as an unlisted video that only people that pay to see it can see, and therefore maybe I won't get a strike on my channel. So anyhow, that's where we're gonna end it for the main feed. I'll do a review of Watch the Water for the Patreon folks, and if you'd like to see that, it's patreon.com/burningdaylight. And everybody else, go follow the stuff. Check out Mackenzie Johnston, Cattle News Central. She does that 4 days a week. And now Jen Hill has started her own podcast, the Black Hereford Chronicles, and she's posting that once a week here on the Burning Daylight feed. I think she has her own feed as well, and I think I'm not sure how long we'll do it here on the Burning Daylight feed, but you can find her anywhere you get podcasts, the Black Hereford Chronicles. But anyway, right here on the Move Your Ass Media Network, we're building something here, folks. So anyway, sign up for Patreon. That'll help us build some more. So everybody that don't pay, well, I'll forgive you this time, and move your ass for Burning Daylight.
Good guys and bad guys, cowboys and Indians, sinners and saints, masters and minions.